Climate change. It affects us all. It affects our beaches, our farmers, our national parks, our animals, our community. It affects you, and it affects me. Climate change is creeping up on us faster and faster, and we as humans need to make a change. Here in the city of Onkaparinga, there are a collection of amazing people who are already making a difference in our community through community development, education, art, wine, and community groups. These people are taking on the responsibility in protecting our planet.
It's important that we recognise climate change because it's already having an impact here in southern Adelaide and within the city of Onkaparinga in a number of quite serious ways.
It's a big problem. I mean, we're going to see much more storm surge in coming decades, and it will be very, very difficult to mitigate against that.
Australians love to live by the sea, and so people put their houses and their roads and their buildings right next to the coast. So we have a big storm, and those storms get bigger over time, or our cliffs or our beaches go, then we can actually find that we're going to lose some of our infrastructure and houses.
Coastal erosion is quite a serious issue that we're already starting to experience, and we have modelled our entire coastline with a really high resolution 3D coastal model, and that enables us to monitor sea level rise over time.
The community is a great resource for information, so I have lots of pictures and videos and stories about what's happening on the coast, hopefully painting a picture for the future which can act as a warning and as a planning mechanism for councils and governments to work out how to plan cities going forward.
So City of Onkaparinga has actually been working on climate change issues since 1998. Initially we started looking at how we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, and so since 2009 we've reduced our emissions by 30%. We have recently upgraded all of our street lighting, 16,000 lights, to LED lights, and that's had a massive savings of greenhouse gas emissions, and we're saving $630,000 a year.
We've done a whole lot of different practices here with the organic systems, which involves the use of birds. From that we have animals working for us instead of having to use poisons and insecticides and so on. With the use of geese, they actually just graze in the mid-rows of the vineyards and the undervine. So they clip and cut the lawns, and then obviously they pass their manure everywhere as well. We also use the chickens. They actually do eat all the bugs and so on. Oh, and the ducks. The ducks are really good snailers, so they don't affect the vineyard at all. And our logo is the white feather, which is from the white peace doves, and they fly around the property, which actually attracts the hawks. In turn, keeps the starlings out, and we don't net our property.
What I basically have been making for the last 30, 40 years are inflatable story theaters. These are animals and domes and shapes that children sit inside and learn about the environment. These inflatable story theaters, these shapes, it's not, it's fabric. It originally was scrap. Nylon doesn't absorb water. There were leftover materials from a tenting company, a train car load of nylon that wasn't being able to be used by a rag company. So we found them, started to use it, and it goes over. Some of these pieces I have are 30 and 40 years old. It lasts, it works.
I think there's a huge opportunity for citizens to get involved, so-called citizen science. I think, again, that's where students, that's where the community, that's where everyday people can get involved and make a difference. So I think if we can kind of marry low-cost technology, make things a lot cheaper and more affordable, and combine that with the power of citizen science, we can solve some really big problems. To do that though, we need to find community groups, schools, and other non-profit organisations that are interested. We can't do it alone. We need community to help us do that.
It's really important for young people to get involved with the environment. We sort of say to them that they need to make more positive steps and try and right the wrongs of the past, but we're not educating them how to partake in that. We're sort of just saying, do better, but they don't know how. If we're going to be in an environment that we want to see that's better, more biodiverse, more healthy, we're actually going to have to educate young people on how to promote that and how to encourage that and how to live in a biodiverse region.
I believe that it's really important to get young people from a community to help engage with that community.
There's more ideas from younger people that help with the environment.
Doing small things like this in a local environment is really empowering. and we think it's really important to educate the wider community so more people know what's going on and why it's important.
We can actually see the effects that we're having on the environment. So we've got trees that we've planted that are growing up and getting bigger, and it's really helping with habitat and climate.
Working on a community's environment gives us as young people a sense of identity that involves something outside of ourselves. It helps us connect with our community and connect with interests that we might not have found had environmental opportunities for teenagers not been available.
We need more groups that are focused around young people, not just expecting them to be part of already existing groups, and having that youth-driven element to it, because if they're not in power of their knowledge, their actions, it doesn't mean much. So it's really important to get their voice representing themselves.
I grew up on a Canadian farm where everything was, sustainable. And I look back in time of how many projects and how many pieces of things, opportunities you have to buy in a store. And it could be so simple. And we could save so many products and materials and vegetables and things by just, being more sensible.
It's really important to basically help people understand what's happening. Unfortunately, there's a lot of ignorance, and I think this is where obviously documentaries and films such as this can be really, really helpful to kind of, just improves everyone's understanding of climate change and the issues we're facing. Once we have that understanding, we can come together and decide as communities what are the things that we want to focus our efforts on, because we will not be able to stop the impacts of climate change in their entirety. We'll be able to mitigate some things, but not everything. So we have to choose.
Council developed this little booklet, and that provides a whole lot of information about the range of programs that Council is doing to respond to climate change, and it also includes information on how residents can get involved with those programs, and that can be downloaded from resilientsouth.com.
These amazing individuals in the Onkaparinga community are making some really powerful changes to raise awareness and make a difference. We can follow their lead by making small changes in our own homes, schools and workplaces. What would you rather do? Help create a future for you and your children where they can live in a clean and beautiful world, or turn a blind eye until it's too late? Use this film and these people to inspire you to educate yourself and educate those around you. You owe it to yourself, your family and our planet.